Welcome, everybody, to another episode sponsored by the Rebel Crone in a series of podcasts I'm doing called Wisdom of the Modern Crone. And in this series, I'm interviewing women that I've hand selected that I feel like really represent the modern crone and are absolute rebels to the core. So, today, my special guest is Dani McKenny, who lives in the UK. And we're going to learn more about her. And I really excited because I don't know that much. I know just a little bit because she's some friends of some friends. But what I can see with the whole Dani situation here is this woman is a powerhouse. She's a rebel and she has the honor of being a crone. Because remember, not everybody that grows old, not all women that grow old actually become crones. Some of them just get old. So in my book, a crone is a woman that's embraced her wisdom, that stepped into that place of power with grace and ease, and is just an incredible embodiment of the potential that we have that culminates in our elder years. So welcome, Dani. I'm so happy to have you with me today.
Thank you, my darling. It's good to be here. It took us a little while to make this all work out, but it all worked out in the end.
It is. We have a little time difference, sort of little kerfuffles there, but we're here. We're here absolutely. And I wanted to share just my little list I wrote down of the stuff that Dani one of the some of the many things she focuses in her life. She's got a group. It's called, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but it's the uneffersunite.com. And she's been doing uneffers for a long time, and we'll get into that a little bit later. She has RTS Earth, which is Release the Shackles. She has Gaia's Garden, a skincare specialist, and herbalist. She teaches foraging. And oh my God, this woman has got so much going on. It's just incredible. And yet she has time to be a mother, a wife, and a soon to be grandma.
And a soon to be grandma.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, so Dani, enough
Yes,
about
darling.
this. Enough about my perspective. Let's get into you. First question. When did you first know that you were a rebel?
I have a skewed answer on that one. And that's because I have a skewed mind.
I love that.
Kind of goes into our previous conversation that we all assume that we're normal. We all assume we're normal until someone all of a sudden points out something. You're like, that's how you think about things? I don't think that way. Like, maybe I'm different. All of a sudden I'm different. So I always knew of myself. I always knew I was a unique person. I always kind of like, even as a teenager, certain rules were like, yeah, I don't know that I understand. Okay, I'll go along with that because rules, and I was taught to follow the rules. But you're like, just not quite right. Um, really though, I think I really came into my own when I was in my 20s. I was raised in a Christian cult. So I kind of left that and escaped, if you will, when I was about 18. And then I went on pretty much a 10-year, probably 12-year journey of figuring out what was truth, what's not truth. Because when you're in those situations, of course, that church has the truth. Everyone else is wrong, right? Everyone else is wrong, but we have the truth. And I went on a search and I looked at like global religion. So I was like, I lived all over the world. I traveled all over the world. I studied religion wherever I went and philosophy, etc., looking for the proverbial truth, right? Um, and I think that was kind of my switch over. Like my 20s was I became a mom for the first time, um, moved away from North America, moved to Europe for the first time, just opened my eyes to a lot more reality, and then realized met people along the way who kind of like poke you in the right direction. Just sometimes it's just the most subtlest of comments that make you go, why would you say it that way? That's really, really interesting. Oh, I'll have to think about that. And it begins a thought journey, that takes you to places that you never had considered before. Does that make sense? And it's really funny because one of those friends I re-met again. It was like almost 30 years later. And we were having a chat and having a coffee together. And I said, you don't realize you were one of the people who changed my life. And she considers herself a crone. And she jokes about the fact that when her eldest daughter got married and had a child, she was like, I'm a grandma now. I can officially take on my cronehood. And she was one of those people who it was insignificant drips of wisdom that she brought. Nothing earth-shattering, just new perspectives, new ways of making you look at things and go, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that, which opens you up to whole new worlds.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. You're so many times. If I look back in my life and I reflect on just like the key lesson, pivot points when things happen, and sometimes they were because I had a history of following, charismatic leaders, and we're looking, okay, is this the truth? And we want to call it like if you want to call it a cult, or if you, and that's a pretty harsh term, but if you look at the real meaning of the word, a lot of it is cultish because
It's all cultish.
it's very cultish, and but I hate to think, oh my God, I felt for cult multiple, but it was part of my growth process until I really internalized the wisdom. So sometimes those leaps and those jumps in my own consciousness happened because, and it wasn't like you could look and go, oh wow, what a stupid decision, but I don't do that anymore as an elder. I look
So
back and I go, no, that was a wake-up call. Yeah, it was a
it's a
wake-up
pathway
call.
guider.
Yes,
Puts
exactly. And
your
I
feet on the
explored.
paths. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so now how I view when I meet people is like the ones I'm most compelled to be around or to listen to are the ones I have to ask because they're not the ones that are going to be like out there, I've got it, and this isn't, wanting a following because I see them as still working through it. It's like the
Mhm.
ones that really know are the ones like you were saying, your friend, that they just they offer, they
Just
drop a little bomb.
little gems that just fall and you go, oh, that's so good.
Yes, exactly. And Maurice, we have our mutual friend Maurice, and I do a Thursday interview with
Yeah.
them. Just love the man. And one of the things I love about him is like he'll never like lead the conversation. You just start talking about something, Lisa. You just start whatever. And then he comes in like you're going off, I'm going off on something. Then he just comes in and goes, boom, and he just takes it there, or he takes the conversation there. And I just love it because he's so unassuming and he's not somebody you would ever think you look, oh yeah, you just discard him, but he's such a treasure trove
Yes, he
of
is.
wisdom. But this is about us women. So Maurice, enough about you. This is about us women and our journey. You're saying that one of the things that really I picked out was you're saying you stop being a good girl. And one of the problems is with girls is that how we're wired, the estrogen brain is wired to respond. As the masculine brain's more about, so we want to, and then,
I
well, let me
I
just finish
don't,
it. But then the
yeah.
whole society, then we're like nurtured to respond. And I feel like there is something about femininity is about nurturing and taking care
Oh,
of.
absolutely.
And that's
And
what I
that
meant by
isn't estrogen,
responding.
purely hormonal and et
That's what
cetera.
I
Oh
mean
yeah.
by it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean by respond. It's this thing is like I want goodness around me. I want people to be kind. I want people to get along. I want thing and it's a beautiful, heartfelt, spiritual connection. Yes, it comes out in the world where we can be easily victimized, taken advantage of, given our power away, blah, blah, blah. But at some point that turns around. Can you remember when, like for me, it really profoundly changed when I became a crone, when I hormonally shifted and I got rid of like all the hormones settled down. And I really came into like, what am I doing? Like, when was that for you? Can you think about,
My whole life.
yeah,
I have a different perspective, and this is I'm going to say, and I don't want to offend anyone. I have a very different perspective about masculinity and femininity. And the masculine and feminine, and when we could talk about the left and the right, the up and the down, the black, the white, the positive and the negative, I hate all those words, literally detest them. because they are charged to make a separation, to define things as this or this. And I don't think anything in life is really that clear cut. For me, again, because my brain, as I've learned, my brain is wired differently than most people. The way I think, and I don't mean the thoughts that I have, but I mean literally the way my brain logics through things. I have never dealt with those things because I never allowed it. This is such a hard conversation to have. To me, they didn't exist because I didn't allow them to exist. And so, like, I got into a conversation with someone actually just recently that I work with. And we were talking about, she was talking about the kind of, she's very much not awake. She is someone I work with. She was talking about the very, what we call like mainstream feminist type ideologies. And I said, I've never had a problem with that because it doesn't exist for me. It's never existed. I don't recognize it. And because I don't recognize it, it literally has never existed for me. And the few times that I've had, let's say, issues of like a boss hitting on you, something like that, I literally go, fuck off and quit. And like not care. Like there was no trauma. It was literally me being like, yeah, I don't put up with that shit.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
I go, I'm
Yeah.
gone. And walking out the door, getting a job again the next day, doing something else and just putting it behind me. So I have a very different, I have always lived in a place of my power is my power. And I don't think that came from anywhere, obviously did not come from my parenting because of like my background of where I was brought up, right? I think that was just in me, in myself of like, well, I'm going to do that doesn't make me comfortable, so I'm not going to do it. And there's nothing you can say to make me do it. Um, I don't like this, so I'm not going to do it. And it was the same thing. I would literally break rules and break rules in front of people and be like, that rule is bad and I don't agree with it, so I'm going to do it my way. And if you don't like it, deal with it your own way.
Mhm.
And that's just always been me. Like that's just always been my thing. As I'm put my place down, and the things that I do are the things that I do. And that's not to say that I'm always right. Oh my God, I've been wrong so many times. Um, like you, like I've been involved with so many groups that you sit there and you go like, oh, why am I with these? Why am I here? Why did I do this? But they're journey steps, right? Like I would not be the person I am today, doing what I do today, if I hadn't had all those experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, like all of them made me who I am. And I've always been able to kind of look at that, like even the worst experiences of my life, in the moment, they're painful, they hurt, they are terrible to deal with. But I've always been very quick to be able to look back at where that led me to and comprehend there was a reason. Like that actually stood me in good stead because of that issue. I learned to deal with this. I learned how to do this. And that is what's brought me to where I am now. And I love where I am now. So I would never go back and change anything in my past, no matter how dark some of it is, because it made me who I am. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
it makes total sense. And I love what you're saying because I was kind of thinking about just kind of getting like the feel and the spirit behind Dani and this amazing woman that you are, and just how, because there's so many lessons here. You just dropped like a whole bunch of like truth bombs. We could pull so many different things out of your experience that comes so naturally to you and doesn't come necessarily naturally to other women in particular. And one of the things I hear is that you've always had a very, you've had this ability to self reflect in a non judgmental way. And I think that's probably, it sounds like you're saying, like, well, I did this and then
In
I
the
looked and I
moment,
learned that and then I adjusted.
Yeah, and that's in the moment. No, we all self-reflect. We all sit there and go, why the hell did I say that? Oh my God, I feel like such an idiot for saying that or doing that or whatever. But being able to turn it on later on self-reflection and be able to go, okay, yeah, that was an idiotic thing to say. It's done now. You can't change it. You learn from it and go forward.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's all
Yeah.
we can do. That I think that's one of the things that I learned. I'm a voracious reader. So I love books. I love reading, and sci-fi and fantasy are my genres of preference.
Mhm.
Um, and I have learned so much from authors that I read back in the 80s, in the 90s. And it's interesting, this like those perspectives of you can't go back and change it. So if you're going to tie yourself up in knots over something you did innocently, like I mean, if you there's a difference between the shit that we did that was really, really bad, that we knew was really, really bad at the time that we did it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the innocent things that you just do and things that you say that comes across bad and you feel bad for it. When it's not something that's meant to hurt, when you have not deliberately done something, to wear that like a hair shirt for years, if not decades, torturing yourself about it, you do yourself a disservice. You do everyone else around you a disservice. And that was a really big lesson of that, of like, I can't change the past. All I can do is learn from it. So if I'm going to torture myself about choices that I made in the past to the point that you become a ball of jello, incapable of making any moves in any direction, then I failed myself. Like I failed that journey. I did not learn a lesson from it. If I'm going to learn the lesson from it, it's that lesson of, okay, so well, I did that. I really fucked it up. Um, I'm not going to do it again because now I've seen it and I'm going to move on. And I'm also not going to judge myself and beat myself up over a mistake that I made over something I didn't know any better at the time. I used to run parenting groups for 20 odd years. I ran parenting groups, childbirth, breastfeeding, and home education. And I would get new moms who would come in who say they've discovered the group when they're having their second or third child, and they start to become educated. And then they start beating themselves up over the choices they made with their first child. And I know women who've done it for 20 years. Like their kids are now grown up and have kids of their own, and they're still torturing themselves. And I'm like, you are doing yourself, your family, and the entire universe a disservice. You did the best you could with the information you had at the time. And did it cause problems? Yes. Admit it. Feel it, move over it, go past it, and now you've done better. With your next child, you did not make the same mistake, right? No. Oh, well, there you go. You learned your lesson. It's a terrible thing. We all have things. I have things with my eldest son that I literally like, oh, I don't want to dwell on it because I mistakes that you make in parenting. But I don't beat myself up on it because I made the best choice that I could possibly make in that time with the information that I had. And if I'm going to beat myself up continuously, then my growth is limited. Like I basically said, I didn't learn my lesson, so I'm just going to sit here and chew on it over and over again. Well, if you're chewing on it, you're not digesting it, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, it takes life experience to learn these kind of things, and being in it. So I get
Exactly.
it. I get it. There's things I've done. One of my old areas that I struggled with was sticking my foot in my mouth, and coming in and not being real sensitive to the situation and coming in all bleh. And then it's like, ah, geez, why did I do that? Or making the wrong, like I felt like bad decisions about the men I chose, like just I chose. Oh, your list goes on and on. And that to me was probably the biggest leverages to freedom, to real being free and lighthearted was forgiving myself for those and just letting go. but it's not fostered in the world the way it is. The religion does not foster that. Religion
No,
fosters
no,
original sin, bad, lowly worm, you human, and you're just,
you're all
and
sinners, you're
you're
imperfect,
going to
you're
be
sinners,
judged.
and you will be sinners for there's nothing you can do but be sinners. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you're going to be judged. You're going to be judged. Well, you look at any of these NDE experiences, everybody that goes over reports back, they all say there's no judgment. Have you ever heard of one say, yep, the panel was sitting there and
No, and
they
they
were like,
told me I was
at the
guilty, and I
scales?
felt the hellfires coming and tickling my toes. No,
No, no, it just isn't how reality really works. It just doesn't work. Now, self-reflection, yes, to rebalance and to learn your lesson, that's key. Judgment, no. So that's like one of the things we were talking before we got started recording, just about how the younger generation now coming in is just very wired differently. They come into a completely different world, a different paradigm. It's not the world that we grew up in as baby boomers, Generation X, that whole, it's just so different.
completely
You
different
know,
world.
it's just completely different. And with that generation, they have that's I can't totally forgot where I was going. I'm glad I had a good point to make on that one. It's gone. Anyways, but
Well,
that
even just
generation,
about the judgment thing, right? Like,
oh
because
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
you and I were talking about was the older generations judging the younger
yes,
generations.
yes.
They're lazy, they have no motivation, they don't want to do anything. And I rip those older people a new ass because it's like you don't know. You have no comprehension of their world. The world that we, as I was saying to you and I, the world that we grew up in, it doesn't exist anymore. It does not exist. Like I said, other than, there was water, air, and gravity, and there was summer, winter, and fall. Other than that, nothing about our realities of what the kids are in now versus us exists. So if we are judging them based on our experiences as teenagers, it's a completely different measuring stick. Like how you can't,
Well,
their lives are completely different,
their brains are literally
completely different,
wired
completely
differently,
different.
and that's like the technology. All they just come into a different physical vehicle that they're having to learn to drive. But let me ask you this, Danny, what do you feel about, do you feel like there's some immutable, eternal, like lessons that we all have to face as far as humans incarnating, or do you think the very lessons in of themselves have changed over time?
I That is such a hard one. And it's funny because I had a good rant on my members chat on Sunday about this kind of a topic. And it's because people see things perspective differently, right? We all have our own perspective on things because of our journey. My journey is mine, it's not yours. Your journey is yours, it's not mine. We haven't lived through the same journey, so therefore our perspectives are not going to be the same. And when it comes to things like that, like what are we here for? The big question, why are we here? And I oscillate back and forth all the time. Like sometimes I think that we're just a great big experiment. Bunch of stuff was thrown in a petri dish. Let's just see how they handle it this time. Is there a lesson to be learned? Yeah, there could be. But I don't think that there's anything that says that every one of us is learning the same lesson or is here to
Oh
learn the
God,
same
no.
lesson,
Yeah.
right? Like I made an analogy, and I did this with the Archaics crew, because I do some videos for Archaics TV, and there was a whole lot of conversation that had been going on over the summer about the nature of the simulation, um, i.e., this reality that we live in. And I'd made the comment, and I make this statement all the time of like, this reality that we live in is nothing we can comprehend. I don't believe it's digital. I don't believe it's a hologram. I honestly believe it is something we cannot possibly comprehend because we just don't have the frame of reference, the experience to tell us what it is.
And the capacity.
And the capacity.
Yeah.
Language makes a big difference, and English is one of the most screwed up languages in the world. But I made the analogy of like Dungeons and Dragons, right? Or an online virtual world game. And I said, your character, you can start playing the game and you can walk into the tavern. And it's a D&D type world. and you go into the tavern and you're on a mission because you're on a quest and you're like, well, I got to go to this place. So you start asking the other people in the tavern. The other people in the tavern are other players, just like yourself, who their character is sitting in the tavern. And depending on who you ask is going to change the answer that you get. Because you ask the first guy who's a bard sitting over here, what you don't know is he's like level 2. So like he has very little lore. He doesn't really comprehend. So the answer he gives you is going to be really, really different than the cleric you ask over there, who's level 49. And this is his 4th playthrough in 4 different characters. So he's going to give you a really different perspective. And I kind of see our reality like that. And again, I use video game analogy just because it's one of the easiest things for people to grasp as a concept. To assume we're all here to learn the same thing, to assume we're all here to do the same thing, I think is really wrong. I think that we don't know. And I think that could things be changing? Sure, things could be changing. Could it just be changing because you've leveled up, so to speak? Because
Oh,
you've reached the next level and you're like, guess what? And in this Pandora's box, you have this. And now deal with that. Yeah, like so like I try not to judge things by I will usually couch the words that I say with in my opinion. And it's only my opinion. I have no answers. My ongoing joke is my show is about questions. None of us have any answers. I will ask lots of questions. We'll throw things around, ideas, hypotheses, theories, but in the end, we don't have answers. So it's just a discussion of what are the questions to ask. And that's pretty much where I think everyone sits. Like when we talk about what journey are we on, I don't know. We're all on different journeys as far as I'm concerned.
we're all on different. I definitely feel. I mean, if you question whether we're here learning different lessons or not, just look at all your friends and look at all their Achilles heels and all their challenges and all the things they've overcome. It's so different. I had very specific things that I feel like is part of my incarnation to experience and to figure out and learn. It's not, there's certain things that are just not my problem. I don't have a problem with it, and
Yep, exactly.
it's interesting. So why are we like judging anybody else for their situation? We just all have our things to do. But I really believe strongly, Dani, about this whole, you're saying leveling up. And in a lot of my videos, I'll just share, I draw diagrams of just vibratory levels. And I feel like when we vibrate at a higher level, there's different things to experience. There's a different reality associated with this. And the whole thing of like, you're talking about before, I think we record about masculine and femininity and polarity and duality and all of that. I mean, I feel the lower down we are, the more separate those things are, and the more differences there are. The higher we vibrate up, the more those things come together. They're more unified. Unity
Yeah,
consciousness
absolutely.
is a higher
Absolutely.
vibration. And I think as we get older, as crones, as women, wise women, I know for me, I started to see things in a very different way. I started to stop seeing things so black and white. I've stopped seeing things such the differences. I see like this beautiful commonality. I look around, I meet people, and I really see the angel within. Just there's something beautiful glowing from within. Now they may have all this other messed up thoughts and things, but like I no longer focus on that. That's not
Yeah.
the focus of them. And that's a gift of age. And I think that's a blessing that we as mature, grown ass women can offer other people is that non-judgmental compassion and, love, quite
Yep.
frankly. It
Yep.
comes down to love. Let me ask you this. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the whole agent thing. Like
Yeah.
when you started coming into the shift in life, like I don't want to use the M word, the menopause word, because
The
it's
M word.
because it's so like male driven in a toxic medical community, but let's call it like I love a book, it's called The Upgrade. I love upgrading. So I feel like we upgrade when we do our transition. So tell me a little bit about have you had any issues? Maybe I should start with this because you're built so uniquely. Have you had
Oh, I
any
had all kinds of
changes?
issues.
Oh, okay, with the
All kinds
aging.
of issues. We all have all kinds of issues.
Let's talk
Um,
about the aging issues. Like what has the aging process been like for you? What is the challenges have been, and then how have you dealt with them?
oh well, I mean, first of all, like, and you and I both joked on this just before we hit record, is that fun? You walk by the mirror and you go, "Who the hell is that?" Um, because I'm just me, right? I'm not my age. Like, you asked me
Yeah.
how old I was, and I'm like, I don't actually know. I think I'm
Yeah, she
57.
got the calculator out and she's going,
I literally had to pull
me.
the calendar and go like 57 or 58 this year. Um,
Oh God, then you got to do freaking math, and that's another whole situation. But
no, like, I'm just me. That's my thing. So there's things, listen, we all go through it. We all go, look, there's, you look at yourself, and when you're going through changes on the physical side of things like, yeah, I'd like it if my skin was not quite so droopy here, right? The laugh lines I'll keep because I earned every one of those. And these are what I call, these are my what the fuck lines. And I earned every fucking one of them. So I keep them all. In the end, it kind of is, I'm just me and I live my life. So, like, I had a friend of mine who, when she became a grandmother, when she found out she was going to become a grandmother, she was kind of crushed. Like, it was really, really hard for her because then she was forced to accept that she was at that age, for lack of a better term. I'm, first of all, thrilled to have a grandchild, like, just over the moon. But beyond that, I like, whether I'm mom or I'm grandma, or hell, if I'm great grandma, I'm, it doesn't change me. I'm still just me. And as far as I'm kind of perpetually 20 in my head. Like, granted, I can't skip rope quite as well as I could when I was 20. But you know what I mean? Like, the changes are a lot, there's a lot of changes that get pushed on us by society, i.e., and I'm gonna disagree with you about the masculine side because I think the harshest buzzkills and the harshest purveyors of bullshit when it comes to aging are women. Women judging women, women telling women how they have to be, women telling women how they have to act, women telling women what to expect. They are the curse. They
oh,
are
I
honestly
agree. I
the
agree.
curse.
Women
And
are the hardest on each other.
absolutely.
Yes.
And so for me, like, honestly, I have much more male friends than I have female friends for that reason. Um, but that judgment thing is a thing that gets put onto us by society. Like, there's this, I made a joke and I posted a meme. This is probably my birthday last year, something like that. And I sent it to my girlfriend who's 13 days older than me. And like, the whole thing, like, are we old enough now that we can stop worrying about looking sexy and we can run around like a hag witch with our hair with branches and like 14 cats? Have we finally reached that age yet? And I posted it as a joke because her and I have been joking about this for decades. But there's a reality to that, right? Like, there's a reality to that, a whole
There
thing of,
is.
like, that you have to look this way, you have to act this way, you have, but it's not just about women. Like, that's also about men too. Like, men get told all these same bullshit things about how they have to look and how they have to act, et cetera, et cetera. And it's, society has become so inundated with fake that I think I tried for a lot of years. Like, you try, I used to joke and say, I used to try on belief structures like a new sweater. You try it on, you wear it around for a while. Is it comfy? Does it feel good? No, it kind of itches. No, I don't really like how that sleeve
A
looks.
little tight,
No,
little tight,
take it.
little.
You know what? Take that belief structure off because it ain't working for me. And what I always come back to is this thing of every time I look externally, every time I look externally for expectations or even guidance, if you will, of who I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to act, what I'm supposed to wear, how my hair should look, how I should speak, all these things. I always look at it and in the end run go, "Oh, that's that's not me. So why would I want to act like that? Why would I want to dress that way? Why would I want it's not me." And I want to say in the last, yeah, kind of probably the last 6, 7 years anyway, kind of got to that place of like, I'm gonna dress. I mean, I've always been a bit kooky in how I dress anyways, but I literally kind of gave that thing of like, I'm going to dress how I want to dress. I don't give a shit about fashion. I'm going to wear what I want to wear. My makeup will look however I feel it should look that day. And it will change radically from day to day because it all depends on how I'm feeling. Same with my hair. It'll be brushed, it'll be completely crazy and braids coming all over the place. It's how I feel in the moment. And when I think that is a place, and I because I don't think that's a crone place. I think that is a place that we should all be in regardless, like maiden mother or crone, we should all be encouraged to be in that place. Unfortunately, I think sometimes it takes us decades of experience to get to that comprehension of like, just be you, just be comfortable, just do what you want, be who you want, say what you want, wear what you want, read what you want, play video games if that's what you want. I talked to a friend of mine who was like, oh, I'm 60. I don't play video games. Why not? Video games are awesome. Play video games. Like, go for it. Like, you're never too old to learn. Have fun. You've never been on a roller coaster? Get on the roller coaster.
Oh, I hear you with that, Dan. That is just, I've done, especially earlier on with the Rebel Crone channel, I did a bunch of things on fashion because that happens to be one of my things. And I was always, like, as a little girl, I always had a very unique way of dressing. I was raised by an Italian mother. She came from Italy and she from Northern Italy, and she was a dressmaker and a seamstress.
Oh,
Beautiful, beautiful
nice.
taste. Not, my family didn't have, we were very middle class, but she also had incredible taste. And she ran a very controlled household, but the one area that she just indulged me was how I wanted to dress. And it was very
Yep.
different from her. And I would wear crazy things and I loved it. And she helped me. I don't know, I think I had always a natural sense of how to put it together in a balanced, stylish, beautiful
Yep.
way. But I've always been known for just I do my own style. So that's one of the areas I haven't had a challenge with because I've always just done me in that way. There's been other areas I've had to learn how to do me and what me actually is. And so I had to try on a bunch of different things and concepts and ideas
Exactly.
and paradigms and groups and men and things and girlfriend and to figure out what I am and what I'm not. A lot of times this you figure out who you are by who you're not, you
No,
know?
listen, I think sometimes the best way to figure out who you are is to who you're not.
Yeah.
You try on something and you go, that's not me. And that sometimes is a stronger lesson than any other lesson, in my opinion.
And I'm right in the middle of one of those. It doesn't stop. That doesn't stop. I have not
No,
stopped growing or pursuing
no, of
and
course not.
evolving me and allowing me to come in. I mean, it's changed dramatically since my younger years,
Oh,
that whole
yeah.
process because I'm at a different level of it. But I'm still trying new things on all the time and still new challenges. I wrote my first novel about, was it 4 years ago? you know,
Nice.
and I had no experience of being a writer. Never, I hated writing. And I'm like doing it. And man, that's been like one of the hardest, most rewarding creative things I've ever done.
Yeah,
Just jump
exactly. It's
in. I did it
brilliant.
in my late 50s. I'm doing it.
Yep.
It's yes, I just love that. But that's the eternal nature. And when I think you really get down to figuring out who you are, it's not age, it's not sex, it's not I'm just me. I
It's
happen to be
not.
in a very womanly body, but I'm more male than a lot
This
of my
time,
guy friends, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. This time, exactly. I like that's why going back to the conversation we kind of were touched on before we started recording. It's why I have personally a very big problem with the whole masculine, feminine, positive, negative, black, white, good, bad. Um, and I've bumped heads over the years with lots of groups that have gone, they very new age, and they do this radical swing to everything is the divine feminine, and everything is the divine feminine. And I'm like, but you're wrong. Everything's not the divine feminine. Everything is both.
Everything's everything.
Everything is everything.
Yeah.
And if you are swinging to an extreme, it doesn't matter if you're an extreme over here or you're an extreme over here, you are an extreme. You will never find balance in extremes. And that's why, like, my whole thing is I am very much about finding the balance point between all things, right? So it's not about the masculine. I am very, very much have a lot of masculine traits. I throw knives for fun. I go camping. I am a pyromaniac. I do light all the fires in the house because I am exceptionally good at it. I do gardening, etc. Like I do all the things, and it's not about, well, I'm doing this and it's a real man thing. No, it's I'm doing this because it's what I
Because
want
it's
to
a
do, and
Danny
I'm just
thing.
gonna do it. It's Danny thing. Danny
It's Danny
loves
thing.
making fires.
Lighting fires. Yeah.
Danny's really good. Give me a go camping. I'm going to be the one doing the cooking and lighting the fires because that's what I'm really good at, and I enjoy it. So the balance is finding the balance, and that comes to even like I said, a lot of people get a little freaked out when I like even when we talk about light and dark. Light and dark are two extremes, right? Like we're still talking about, in my opinion, like we look for the balance point between them. And I found like for a lot of people, like especially back around 2010, 2012, I tried on the New Age shirt, tried it on, didn't last very long, was really uncomfortable for me. Um, and everyone was like, oh, you have to focus on the light. You can only talk about the light, never talk about it. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not reality. Like reality is light and shadow. Reality is light and dark. And if you are only focusing on the light in yourself, then you're not seeing the dark in yourself. And we all have dark and we all have shadow. We all do. Every single person does. So to focus only on the extreme one side is to ignore the other side, but by ignoring it, it doesn't go away. It doesn't change. If anything, it grows.
It controls you. It
And it
gets
can
more
control you in a
control.
way because you are ignoring it. You're like, I'm not going to look at that over
And
here.
it's going,
Meanwhile,
wake
over
up.
here,
Yeah. It's
right?
going, wake up. Hello, hello. Do I have to shout a little louder? What do I got to do? Do I got to, I feel like the
Exactly.
you can learn it easy way or you can listen or not listen and it's going to come a little stronger.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
just think that that's our balance point is we have to look at in ourselves, in our situation, in our lives, in our experiences, look at both things. And that's why, like I said, I've gone through some really shitty times. I've gone through some really, really dark places, but they've created who I am today. So I would never denigrate those dark experiences, those dark places I was, the even the person that I was during those times, because I am where I am today because of those. I have learned and become who I am by looking at the light and the dark and moving and learning from all of it. And that's, I guess I could say that like, that's my number one thing is like always saying to people, like, find your balance point. You have to find the balance point. And that every time we take on belief structures, especially belief structures and narratives, um, we are excluding things from our reality.
I say amen to that one because that is one of the main things that we start talking about with the whole aging, bias thing, this whole aging narrative, and especially as women, what your value is in this whole definition. It's a paradigm, it's a belief structure. If you want to step into that, then you have to accept
Yep,
all the stuff around it. And these paradigms have borders. They have borders, and you push up against
absolutely.
them. You find the borders. It's like, does that work for me? And it's like, no, I think I want a bigger box.
One without such sharp edges, thanks.
And I was like, I want a bigger, I want to play in a bigger pond. I can swim better now. And you go to a bigger one. And then you find the limits with that. And I think this is through eternity, is that we're just growing and growing and we try something on, doesn't work, try a bigger thing on,
Try a bigger
outgrow it.
thing on.
And it's infinitely, of the potential of growth. There's no end to it. There's no outer ring to stop like up. I got there. I'm there.
And that's it. Like
Dana.
I've met a lot of people who are like, oh, well, I'm insert age here. I've learned all my life lessons. I'm like, wow, you think you graduated high school or whatever school or whatever, and that's you just stop learning? Like to the day you die and beyond that, I will be learning. And if you stop learning, that's that closing the box. Like that's that my box is full, my experiences are full, my knowledge is full. I don't need any more. And you close it off and it's just stagnation then at that point, right? Like why bother even existing anymore? When you get to a point if
Yeah.
you're like literally like, I have all the answers. Yes, I have all
But
my
Danny,
answers.
doesn't
I
that
don't need to grow anymore.
but doesn't it blow you away that some people that's enough? Like
They
they're
literally,
satisfied.
yes.
I have never been like for I used to think it was like the curse of being me growing up is like why can't this ever just be enough? I look around people, the women who get married, you have kids, you do this and you have that, and then it's like you live your life and they're like, that's enough. It was never enough for me. I mean, I chose not to have kids from the start. I knew that wasn't my jam this life, but it was nothing's ever been like to be satisfied enough. It's just constant growing and I like it and challenging and
I need
expanding and
adventures. I need
yeah.
adventures. And I
I,
joke, it's the joke with all our friends and family that like I have a very short attention span. I basically last about we've been here in England for 5 years now, and everyone's been literally like, oh, it's been 5 years, aren't you moving yet? Because like I can only last about 4 to 5 years in any one place that I'm in before I'm like bored now, gotta move.
well, we'll have to talk about that sometime. That's been my life too. Like I've lived in this place, I lived there a couple years or there. I've just, this is the longest I've been in a relationship and my marriage is the longest, we have moved quite a few times within that, but it's still sometimes I'm like, I love my place, but getting a little bored.
Do you want to hear my theory on this?
Yes.
This is my theory, and I hold to this really, really strongly. When on a conscious, subconscious, or unconscious level, you become aware this is not home. We keep moving because we're trying to find the place where we're comfortable. We keep moving because we're trying to find the place that feels right, that feels like home, that we feel satisfied with. And the reality of it is, in my opinion, is that that place doesn't exist here. In this reality that we're in, that place that we are here looking for, that we're drawn to and desperately trying to find, doesn't exist in this reality. And that's why people like you and I go ba-dump,
I
ba-dump, ba-dump, and we try different careers and we try learn different things and we try different ways of doing things and we move and we change. And that is that searching that we have because we know where we are is it just ain't right.
And you know what? I think this is the pivotal thing is at a certain point in time, you understand what you're saying is that home's not out there, home is here. This is where my home is, and I'm a visitor here. I'm passing through, and I'm not afraid of the whole death experience. I'm like, okay, that's going to be fun. And then I go back and then I do whatever we do next. And, but there's a different home. But I've also been blessed with out of body experiences, especially when I was younger, and profound understandings from that being home.
Pause for a second. Dogs, go lay down, please. I have dogs dancing around me right now. There you go. They're going away now, so this should be quiet. There
That's
won't be
okay.
the tippy tapping of huge fuzzy feet.
That's okay. But the whole thing about that home is where you are, no matter where you are. This is like home here. That's where I found is that my home is now things will be more compatible with that vibration. Like I have a certain vibration that I like, and that's home. Now, the beauty about it is that as I move forward in life in integrity with that and allowing that to come through, the things that are attracted to me line up better with my feeling of home, like the people I attract, the people, the place I want to live. I live here in Santa Fe now, and I love this community. I feel like there's a lot of kindred spirits as opposed to where I lived in
That
California,
always
where I
helps.
never had any friends or anything because it's just I didn't vibe on anything.
Yeah.
So things have lined up in a beautiful way the older I've gotten to that as I've held truer and more honed into that the home of who I am.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my God, it's just this whole aging thing, I would not go back and relive anything or go back to another time period. I don't have like I've never been uh uh I feel like it's a cursing of lamenting for the golden time or this time in the past where, living in the past or living in traditions or living
Oh, see, yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm like the adventurer, the eternal
yeah.
adventurer. So I'm like, I'd like to go back to Victorian times, but with all my knowledge I have right
Oh
now.
yes.
I'd like to go back to my high school years, but with all the knowledge that I have right now. I'd like to go back to Roman times, but all with everything I already know, and then play the game. Because it's like that's to me like that's the adventure, right? The adventure would be, can you get through Victorian times with all the knowledge that you have? How would you change things? How could you
Oh my
influence
God.
things and move things around? How could you go back to the 70s? Knowing what you have now in your head, i.e., knowing what's to come, people who are good. And then how could you change like that to me? That's the adventure. That's the
Well,
adventure.
I would throw
I
something out
love it.
just
I think about that all the time.
Oh, I do too. And one
Just
of
for
the
fun.
things that I actually like doing from time to time, like dancing with the concept of in this, time, space, and space time in the bigger reality that there isn't time. So actually all your lives, if you believe in reincarnation, all of your lives, and in this life in particular, is happening in one big now. So theoretically, if that's true, then I could go back and into a previous thing. I could
Yeah.
redo it. I can redo it and repattern it in my experience, and then it will further empower who I am today because it's a whole other timeline that would have happened to get me where I'm at. I mean, I don't know if that came across right, guys, but I think you can
No,
understand where I was going
absolutely.
with
No, no,
that.
no. I get you.
Yeah,
Totally. Totally.
yeah,
Totally. I
yeah. So
understand.
it's kind of like one of these out there crone things of
No,
possibilities
no.
of how you can just even repattern your life based in your decisions and not judging your past right now that you remember, but it's really true. It really changes your right now because you literally free up the energy in the past, which is all
Yeah.
happening now anyways. So it's that's like super super powerful stuff.
Yeah, and that I mean, and that's one of the things, like when going back to what I was saying about judging yourself and living in guilt, etc. When you realize that then is now,
Mhm.
that what you're doing now is then, and that you are bringing then all the negativity of that
You're dragging
forward
that.
into your now. Why?
That's, I
Stop.
was just gonna say that was gonna come out of my
Stop.
mouth. Why?
Just
Is it
stop.
working for you? Is it working for you?
It's
That's the big
not.
question,
And
right?
it's
If
listen,
that's
maybe
working
it
for
works for some
you,
people. Maybe it does work for some people. Maybe some people need to relive their
yeah.
then now to fully comprehend it. Doesn't make sense to me, but maybe that's what somebody needs to do. I'm not going to judge. Like, you do you. I will give advice along the way, but that it's just advice. That's it.
But don't you feel like this is part of the metamorphosis or the growth of aging, but no depend it doesn't matter like what age you really are. It's just at some point that you get over stuff. You get over it. Like I had for
Yep.
years, it was like processing daddy issues. And then I remember my 20s, like crying for the longest time because I had an alcoholic father and a drug brother and a mother, this and a that. I was like, what? And then one day I just stopped crying. I would think back about, I think of everything that happened, all that, and there's not a tear to be found anymore. And so it's just like the traumas and the dramas and all that stuff is like we can move through those terrains.
Well, and there's a
And
thing like there's a really clever trap. And unfortunately, right now, it is so invasive and so pervasive. And that's the victimhood trap. And I see it continuously. And of course, when we talk about, for example, when we get political, we start talking about like the extreme left. They're a victim of everything. They're always a victim. It's always a victim. So it's been kind of put on this massive billboard now. Victimhood, wear it now. Um, but there's a subtlety in victimhood too. And I think that is kind of what I was saying about the way I've gone through life is the fact of I've never felt a victim. I've never taken that on. So because of that, I've moved through things differently. And the problem is that sometimes when we get into that place of guilting ourselves, the flip side of that is the blame, i.e., well, I did that, but I did it because such and such happened to me.
You did that, or that
You did
happened.
this to me, so therefore I did that. And there's this victimhood card that gets played. And there's a lot of people who consider themselves to be very awake, who consider themselves to be very spiritual, etc., who still live in that place. Everything is about what was done to them, how they feel about other people's actions, etc. And
The enemies out there, the problems out there, the child. I mean, it's dichotomy. It's the shadow and light dance being played out in a different scale.
yep, and like if that's one of
Externalized.
those things, are you going to accept that? That's your choice to make, but that's not everyone's choice to make. Like we're
And
all
you
going to
don't have the thing
in
is
this
there's a
place.
choice. The thing is there's a choice
There is a choice.
that's the
100% there is a
there's a
choice.
choice. You don't have to fall in, especially in this country right now with politics and everything. And I've got some friends that are just thinking they're going to move. I'm like, well, where are you going to move to? Where is it going to be different? You know what I mean? What country are you going to pick? What country is going to let you in? How are you going to survive? They're in this whole swirl of it. And then I have other friends like me. It's like, meh, I'm living my life. I'm doing my thing. And it's just an interesting paradigm to see playing out, but it's not mine.
Yep.
I don't have to say I've not internalized it as my war, my battle. It's and we can choose that. I think that's like such a beautiful place. Some people take a whole lifetime to
It's a
get there.
balance point, right? Like you need
Yeah.
to, I always talk about on my show, the Unfuck It discussion every Wednesday night. We discuss politics, we discuss finance, we discuss science, we discuss whatever is going on, whatever's the big thing, we throw everything on the table. There's no topic that's not allowed.
Taboo.
There's no taboos. And there's a difference between being caught up and being the observer. And that's what I always say. We need to be the observers. Like, I don't believe in putting your head in the sand and pretending it doesn't exist, because that's just how you get yourself into a lot of trouble. Like, that's illogical. But we observe things. So we observe the political stuff, landscape, if you will. We observe what's going on in the economics, in the financial realms. We observe things that are going on in society, but we're observing them. When we're observing them, we're not becoming them. We're not being obsessed by them. We are not being swallowed by them. We're not paying it energy, right? We are observing it. And I think it's very, very important that we have to observe all these things. I think it's anyone who thinks that they can go through life without observing all this stuff literally is an ostrich with their head in the sand, and they're going to
Or they're
find
caught in the
a kick
matrix.
there in the ass.
Yeah.
That's going to kick you in the ass. That's not reality. We're here. If you're here, you're here. If we're on Earth and we're in this reality, you should at least be aware of what's going on around you. But that doesn't mean that we have to get caught up in it and we have to pay it all our energy and become a feeding vessel for it, if you will. Right? And that's why I say, like, we need to maintain our, just be the observer, watch it, you see it, but you don't have to identify with it. You don't have to allow it to take over your world. You are just acknowledging and being like, I see you. Next. I see you. Next.
Exactly. Is not to get
Yep. Yep.
emotionally reactive,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
to it. I mean, that's the whole thing is just not to step on that court. I always use that analogy of like stepping onto the court to play the game. Do you want to play that game? Are you going to volley back and get all pissed off? And then
Yep.
some point you start going like, no, I don't want to play. And you put your racket down. And then you get to the point where you don't even walk on the stinking court anymore. You know, it's
exactly.
just I'm just gonna see that's that game going on. There's that game.
I can't.
There.
There's so many times you go into social media and you start typing out a response to someone, and then you just go delete,
Oh, I
delete,
do
delete,
that all the
delete,
time.
delete, delete, delete. There's no
Um,
use. Well, I'm not going to spend my energy on that because they're not going to comprehend. They
and
don't
I don't
want
want
to
to engage. I don't want
comprehend.
to engage it. It's not a
I'm
debate
not
for
going to
me.
engage in that. I have no interest in engaging, and I just walk away.
You know, I'm willing to bet you that has from the your earliest memories that you were an observer. Did you feel like growing up, like, did you always kind of feel a little bit separate and there's a part of you? I mean, I'm projecting
I
me
don't.
out here because I've
No, I
always felt
don't.
like I was watching things in a different way. Like I watched, like I was never like quite there. I was seeing things in a
I
different
was.
way.
You see, I was always a bit of an outcast.
Hmm.
So my perspective was very skewed anyways because of the religion I was brought up in, therefore, which kind of separated me out from society and classmates, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and given my unique way of thinking of things, I've kind of never fit in. So I don't know that I would say that I was an observer. I would say that I was definitely, for the most part, outside of.
So were you consciously making choices like I don't want to fit into that because I don't like what I'm seeing, or
No,
I'm just doing me and it's
no,
just
I'm
not
just
that.
doing me. No,
It's
I'm
not
just
that.
doing me. Yep,
This.
I'm
Yeah.
just doing me. And like things in high school, like I joined the choir because I love to sing, and everyone was like, "That's a really like, why the fuck would you go join the choir?" I'm like, "Because I want to. I don't
Hmm.
care what it tells. I don't care what people think of me because I've joined the choir. I don't. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to join the choir because I want to."
Yeah. And I think this is kind of coming back around full circle from we talked about a little while ago about just that authenticity of expressing yourself, however you want to express yourself. You know, I've loved my hats. I've always loved hats, but did I wear hats for a long time? No, because I thought like, oh, I was feeling like, oh, like, especially in certain places I've lived. Now I do what I want to do. I pursue what I want to, and just unapologetically. And that
Yep.
has just grown. It's filled out over time. There's certain things I feel like through my life I naturally did unique to me, but then there's other things where I'm trying out all the different paradigms and different groups and stuff. And now it's not about that at all. I don't look for anybody to lead me. I'm not a follower. I'm not, I am just me. And I'm finding kindred spirits that are just them. And we
Yep.
attract it and we love each other and we support each other and we tell each other how it is and we love each other for it.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
However we want to be. And I think that's just let's sort of wrap this up, Dani, a little bit. I'd like to just have some like pointed advice from you for let's first start with women coming of really coming of age of coming into the big time of transitioning to their elder years where they're like, oh my God, I'm getting older now and I'm questioning all this and that. Do you have some advice for that 40-year-old, that, early 50s?
Just be you. Literally,
Yeah.
that's like my only advice. My
Yeah.
number one advice is if you can't read the word on the label, don't eat it. If you can't pronounce it, you don't want it in your body. That's
Don't
my
put it
number
on
one
your
advice.
body.
Don't put it on your body. Don't put it in your body. If you can't pronounce it, it's not good. That's always my number one advice. But other than that, just be you. Quite literally, I don't have belief structures are always false. And belief structures don't mean religion. Belief structures means anything that you believe is true. They're always false and they're always a trap. Think for yourself, do all your own research. Don't ever believe anything anyone else tells you. Go look it up for yourself. Go research it for yourself. And you're never too old to learn something new. I just had big questions about solar physics. So 15 years ago, I taught myself solar physics so that I could comprehend something that I had a question about. You're not too old to to keep learning, right? And but like the ball boils down to in the end is just be you, just you. Don't worry about anyone else. Like, don't you worry about all those people out there and what they think. Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
That would be my only advice, really.
Well, I think that's the foundation. I think that's the best advice ever. That is the advice. If there's like a council of advice, that would be the advice, is to be you. And it should be the most natural, easy thing in the world because that's
That's
who
true.
you're designed to be.
Yeah,
And it,
that's
but
true.
it's okay finding it out, figuring it out, and it's okay trying on different things and
And it's
and
okay
then
to
let them go if
change.
they don't fit. Just let them go and go try the next thing
No,
on.
it's okay to change. Change
It's
is
okay.
totally fine. Totally fine. Change
I
is not
am
painful.
I'm going through that right now with some girlfriends of mine of certain things that we're kind of seeing, come to light. And we're like, all right, well, we tried that on. We tried that whole thing, that group, that whatever. We tried it on now, and it worked at one time, but now it doesn't work.
Necessarily now.
That's
Yeah,
okay. It's okay. That's
it's
cool.
totally okay. Change is absolutely fine.
Oh my God. It's like so, I tell you, just for me, getting older has just gotten so much easy. Life has gotten so much easier. It hasn't because I put all my own, I lived in my own prison of my own bars I put on, and as I've taken those off, it's just like, oh, they were mine. This people
Yep.
always say this is a prison planet, but it's your prison is your prison of your own making. You can
Yep.
accept the bars or not accept
100%.
the bars. And the minute
Yep.
I judge somebody or I have like a belief that this is the right way, this is that, boop, 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 there goes some bars. Go right up they go.
Yep. Right up they go. Exactly.
Right? They go, oh my
Absolutely.
gosh, my dear, thank you so much. You
You're
have
very
been
welcome.
like everything and more that I expected. It's like this woman is, a tour de force because she lives unapologetically herself in her own life. And it's diverse, it's dynamic, and it is just
It's
like,
disasterful sometimes.
yay!
Just the way it is.
You're a go big or go home kind of get. We go
Whatever.
big to get home, but we go big to get home.
There we go. Exactly.
Oh
Exactly.
my gosh. Well, thank you so much. Do you mind, Danny, if I put some of the links of your various
Yeah.
things you do in this
I
video?
will send you all the links.
Okay, perfect. I love it. And I hope to have you back on again and hope to have you part of some of the panels that I am now brainstorming on specific topics that we can
Cool.
have a bunch of rebel crones just talking about, very specific things. And I know you do this all the time, and I'd appreciate if you would, come into my zone and to share your perspective in some of the things
Sure.
that I'm passionate about. I would love that.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
think we can do that. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was a fun. It was fun. It was a
It,
good conversation.
That was a good conversation. Thank you. And as always, everybody, peace from within because that's where it all starts. Until next time.